Hello and welcome to our today's webinar. The topic today will be again the UMB config tool. We had the config tool as a webinar 3 months ago, so we have new features of course because we have a new version out, which is the version 2.2. So we will talk of course again about the basics of the software, but of course also about the new features. And first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Manuel Kreissig. I'm working now at Lufft for about 15 years, and I'm a responsible person for the support and the service here at Lufft. You see my email, so if you have further questions, you can always send me an email if you want, or call me. So, of course, also today you will be able to ask questions if you want. There is a small question box at the right corner on the right side on your menu, and you can of course enter there questions if you want. At the end of the webinar we will try to talk about these questions. Alright, so we will start. So that's the plan for today. We have different parts, so we will of course talk again about installation and communication settings, and we have a new feature I never talked about. The new feature, the communication feature, is that you will be able with the UMB config tool to communicate via TCP/IP connection. That means if everything is installed the right way, you will be able from your office to connect to UMB stations. So that's of course a very nice feature. So you don't need, or you do not need to drive to the station or something like that. You can try to get in touch with the station with the UMB config tool from your office. And so I will show you how this works. We will try to connect live to a GPRS station here 50 kilometers away from our office, and you will see how it will work. So then of course we will talk about scanning the UMB network. Then of course I will show you the configuration possibilities of the software. In this case I want to show you the configuration of an IRS-31 Pro, because this is also a new sensor from Lufft, from the UMB-sensor portfolio, and so I will try to show you how an IRS-31 Pro will be configured and what are the possibilities to configure for the IRS-31 Pro here. Then we have the possibility to activate channels, you know that, and visualize this data. And there is also a new feature which I never mentioned. It's called the select channel feature. That means you will be able to select different channels and with one click, let's say it like this, and activate them with one click. So that's also a nice feature, and I will show you that also. Some additional things I want to show you at the end is that how to switch easily temporary to UMB binary. Maybe you know that the WS sensors, for example, can be also configured in different other protocols like UMB binary. For example, Modbus or SDI12. Of course, you will not be able to communicate if the sensor is configured for SDI12, for example. You will not be able to communicate with the UMB config tool anymore. But you will be able to switch back temporarily to UMB binary so that you will be able to communicate again with the station. And I will show you that how that works. And of course we have some nice NRS extra features. I will also show you that. So if you work with an NRS-31, you will be able to do some special things with the software. I will show you that. And I will show you how to configure and how to set up the values.txt file at the end. After that, the last point are the questions, so you will be able to answer, or I will be able to answer your questions, of course. So let's start. Installation and communication settings. So I will switch now to the software side. And of course I will show you that again, but maybe you know it, but I want to show it again. You can download the software from our homepage. So I will show you how to do that. You open the Internet Explorer, for example. You go to the Lufft homepage. I will show you that in English. So English is here. And you will have a support button here. And you will have a downloads button on the left. You will have a software button again under the downloads button, and then in the tab UMB technology, you will open that. You will find on the third place the the software UMB config tool as a download. If you click on that, you will be able to download it or open it. So you see, it's the version 2.2 which you can download, which is the actual version of the UMB config tool. I always advise to have the actual version installed on your PC, because all the new features, all the new sensors are only always available with the new versions. So be always up to date with the version of your UMB config tool and check our homepage here. Okay, so we can close that. So after the installation, you will have a shortcut on your desktop and you can open it. And then you will have a small menu here, and if you click on Edit, you will be able to set up the connection settings. So I will show you that. You have two possibilities here. The standard possibility is to connect the UMB station directly via RS-232 and, for example, Isocon to your laptop or PC. Then you use, of course, RS-232 and a COM port. In addition, now we have a new feature that you will also be able to use TCP/IP connections. You can switch to TCP/IP here, and after that, the only thing you need to do is to enter the host address, so the IP address of the station you want to connect to. So, of course, the station must be available via Ethernet. That's a requirement here. So you can enter the IP address or the host name. So if you use, for example, a DIN DNS service, you can also use the DIN DNS address. For example, test123.dindns.org. You can enter that name also here to connect to the station. And the second thing is you need to know the TCP port to route to the station. That's depending on the COM server you are using or the GPRS modem you are using. For example, the standard port for the Lufft modem is 2404, and the standard port for our COM server, for the Lufft COM server, is 8000. So I will try that now live. I have a station nearby my office. It's about 50 kilometers away, and it's a RWIS station, a road weather station. So we will try to connect. So what I need to do is to enter the IP address. Because the station is a GPRS modem station, I need to use the right port, which is 2404. So that's all I need to do. After that, you can click on OK. Then you go to Edit. Of course, you see now use TCP/IP is active. Then you go to Sensors, and you use the Auto Scan button to scan the system. Now the software will use the TCP/IP connection to connect to the station and check the installed sensors. I will show you. So use the Auto Scan button. The software will start to auto scan the UMB network via TCP/IP. It takes a little bit because it will scan all the different UMB sensor UMB addresses here. And you see now we have two sensors in the list. One is an INRS31 and the other one is the WS600 in this case. So now I'm remote connected to the station, which is 50 kilometers away. So that's of course a nice feature. So again, back to the connection. Another thing is, if you have a bad connection, a bad TCP/IP connection, you can also add a timeout in milliseconds here, so that you maybe, or the software will try longer to get in touch with the station. So you see, I had a very good connection, of course, so I do not need to enter a timeout time here. But of course, maybe you can try. If you will not be able to get in touch with the station, you can try to edit a timeout here, maybe 1000 milliseconds or something like that. Okay, we will now switch back to RS-232 because I have also connected a RS-232 station here. Then I click on OK, and yes, then you see the use TCP/IP button is not active anymore. So that's of course So that was the installation communication settings. So now we are talking about scanning the UMB network. All right. Always you connect the UMB config tool to a UMB station. Of course, the first thing we need to do, or you need to do, is to scan the UMB network, because the software needs to know which sensors are installed on your station which you are in front. And I will show you that, how that works. So going back to the software, you need to use the edit button, edit sensors, and you have two ways to do the scanning. The first, which is of course the easiest way, is to use the auto scan button, like we have done before, but I will do it again now. So using the auto scan button means that the software automatically will scan through all the UMB addresses of the available sensors between ID 1 and ID 3, and will check if one of these sensors is installed and put them into this selected sensor list table here. So we will do that, auto scan button. Of course, we are now being asked about the COM port because I switched back to RS-232 connection, right? So it's COM1, so I click on OK, and now the auto scan will start. Again, the same thing. Yeah, we will switch through the different UMB devices here. You will see the progress, of course. And at the end, you will see which sensors are installed. I have installed 3 of them, and that's okay. You see, I have installed one NIRS31, I have installed one WS sensor, and one IRS31 Pro. Right. So the second way, maybe you know what is installed on the station. Maybe you are faster like with that. You know, I will delete everything. So now back to the normal menu, the standard menu. So there's nothing inside the selected sensor list. You can do the same thing manually. You can use here the type of sensor list and put the sensors which you know which are installed in the station manually to the list. So for example, I use the NIRS here. Where is it? Here. Edit. I use the WS and edit. And I use the IRS31 Pro, which is also available, and edit. And now you have the same list, right? And if you are not sure if these sensors are really installed, you will always be able to verify. Using this button means that the software will automatically connect to the UMB network and check if the communication is there or not. So I will try to use the verify button now, and you see you will get back verify okay for all 3 sensors. And you know now that these are really physically connected to your UMB config tool. All right? So that's the scanning. So let's go back to the presentation. The next step will be, I want to show you the configuration of a sensor. In this case, I want to show you the configuration of an IRS31 Pro, because this one is the newest UMB sensor we have in our sensor portfolio, right? The requirement, of course, is that the sensor is really connected to the laptop. You have 2 possibilities. Again, you have the possibility to connect the sensors via RS485 RS-232 converter, like an ISOCON, directly to the laptop, or via Ethernet, like I have showed you before. So the connection of the sensor is like this. You need to connect the IRS, for example, the IRS31 Pro with the 4 wires, with the standard wires like brown for plus 12 volt, white for ground, yellow for B, and green for A. And then you connect it to the ISOCON. The ISOCON need to be powered up with a power supply, and then you will be able to connect directly with a standard RS-232 cable from the ISOCON to the laptop. And now, after that, you will be able to configure the sensor with the UMB config tool, and I will show you that now. Going back to the software, again, we go to Edit, Sensors. We put the IRS31 Pro into the list again. We check if it's really there. Yes, it is there. And then you mark the sensor and you use the configure button here. Using the configure button will open a new menu which is called sensor configuration menu, and of course you have different possibilities. The button you need now is of course the load profile from sensor button, because that's also logic. We first need to read out the actual configuration from the sensor into the software. So we use the load profile from sensor button here. Now the configuration will be read out and written into the software. Okay, I get a small mistake here. We will try again. So if you have some error message, you can try again. It's not a problem. Now we have done it. You see now we have two more menus here. And of course the info menu is to get more information about the sensor, about the serial number, about the tested, when it was tested, the project number, the internal Lufft project number. The most important thing here for the people is that you will also be able to get information about the actual installed firmware version, which is 1.5 here. Okay. Then you can open the iRS31 Pro tab. So this is depending on the sensor you have connected. Of course, if you have connected the WS, the tab will be called WS X UMB, of course. So, and depending on the sensor, you will get this configuration menu. We have three different parts which are always the same for each sensor. We have a general properties part on the left side, we have a communication properties part on the right side, and we have the specific sensor setup part in the middle. All right? So the general properties part is used to change the ID. So if you need to change the ID, you can do that here. In general, you only need to change the ID if you use the same sensor type. For example, two iRS31 Pro in one system. Then of course you need to change the ID from 1 to 2. So that means that if you have two of them, you have one with ID 1 and the other one with ID 2. Because if you have two of the same sensor types in one system, that will not work if they have the same IDs. All right? If you have only different sensors, all of them can have ID 1. That's not a problem. So you can also change the description here, but that's normally not necessary. On the right side, you have the communication properties, where you can change the baud rate, the line speed, and of course the protocol. And you have the timeout protocol change. That means how many minutes it will take when the sensor will switch back to the configured protocol. Then we have the measurement setup menu here. So we have different things for the iRS31 Pro. We have the sensor settings, where you can change the measurement interval, for example, between 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. We can swap the channels for the external temperature sensors. We can also activate the iRS31 compatibility mode. If you need more information about iRS31 Pro, I have made a webinar some weeks ago about iRS31 Pro, so you will always be able to check this webinar on our homepage, okay? To get more information, because I will not now really go into deep for the iRS31 Pro. I only want to show you the configuration possibilities here. Then we have the correction factor for the freezing temperature, and of course you can also change the number of samples for average. Then you have the model parameters. That means the thresholds for changing between dry and damp and wet, for example. That's the road condition Lufft thresholds. Then we have the TLS thresholds. That's a special format used here in Europe, where you can change also the thresholds for the different TLS channels. Then we have the limit for critical road states. That means if the temperature is above 0 degrees, you will only get the standard road conditions like dry, damp, and of course wet. If the temperature is under 0 degrees, you will also get the critical road conditions like salt with damp with salt, or wet with salt, or ice, for example. Okay. Then on the right side you have temperature limit for freezing temperature calculations. That means only if the temperature is above 0 degree, under 0 degree or equal to 0 degree, the freezing temperature will be displayed. If the temperature, the surface temperature, is higher than 0 degree, no freezing point can be displayed or will be displayed. You will get an error message, which is not a real error message. It's only an information that under these conditions, this value cannot be displayed. Okay? So, and then we have, of course, the iRS31 Pro UMB freezing temperature menu, where you can link the iRS31 Pro to an RS, for example. Also, this was explained in the last webinar about Iris 31 Pro, so if you need more information about that, please check this webinar. So if you have changed something, of course you need to program that. You go back to main and you store now the profile on sensor. You need to do that. If you do not do that, of course the new configuration, it will not be really written on the sensor. So we will do it now. We have not changed anything, but anyway will show it how it works. So it's like that. You will see the progress, and after that you will get an information that the configuration was written to the sensor. And that's it. Click on OK, and now it's OK. All right, so back to the presentation. Now the fourth point will be the activation of the UMB channels and, of course, the visualization of this data. We have a new feature there. It's called Select Channels. I will show you how that works. Going back to the software. Now I will show you that on the example of a WS sensor. So I will delete the Iris 31 Pro now. I will put the WS sensor again here. I check the communication, it's working. So the channels here, you will see for example for the WS here are 117 available channels. That means that these channels are always be transmitted from the sensor, for example, every minute, if the poll time is every minute. Now you see activated channels are 0. That means, and we are talking now only about the software side. If you activate something here on the channel side, you will not do that directly in the sensor. It's because the sensor will always transmit every channel. What you will do with the activation here of the channels is to activate them on the software side. That you will see them. That's it. So you will do that. Or if you want to do that, you have to double click on this tab. So you see there is 0 now. If you double click on the 0, the channel list will open. And of course the channel list will include all the 117 channels displayed here, right? And this new feature I want to show you is here on the right side. It's this feature here, multiple channel action. What you can do is, you see that add channel from number, add channel to number, and delta for channel number. So you will see on the left side here that the channels will start at 100. So we will put 100 here, and I want to show all the channels between 100 and 800 in steps of 100, for example. So that means I will want to activate channel 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on. And that's all you need to do. If you now click on Go, you see it's now green. And if you scroll down, all the channels with the full numbers like 100, 200 are now activated. And it's an easy way to activate very fast channels in a row. Now you click on OK, and you see 8 channels are activated. That's really easy. So you don't need to do that manually for each channel. You can do it easily for a lot of different channels with one click. I used the full channels, the 100 steps channels, because these are the standard channels normally we activate. You see, 100 is the actual temperature in Celsius degree, for example. 200 is the actual relative humidity channel in percent. 300 is the absolute air pressure value in hectopascal. 400 is the actual wind speed, and so on. So these are the standard channels, so it's really easy to do that. And now if you want to display them, you go to Save and Exit, and go to File and Start Measurement, and you will see them. So it's really easy to do that, right? You see the temperature, or the temperature here inside the office is about 21.7 degrees. We have a relative humidity value inside the room here about 39.5%. The air pressure is 979.2, and so on. Now I try to generate some wind. Here you see now we have started to generate some wind. That to show you that we are really measuring here. It's not only a fake installation here, right? So now we can stop the measurement, and that's it. Okay, I think that's clear, right? Now we have some additional features I want to show you. First of all, how to switch temporary to UMB binary. So if you want to switch to a UMB binary because, for example, WS sensor is configured for Modbus or for SDI12, you can also use the UMB config tool. You have, of course, to connect the sensor, like shown before, to the laptop with an RS232, RS485 converter. Then you go to options, and there is a command here, switch all sensors temporarily to UMB protocol. So all sensors which are connected to the software via UMB, via a converter, can be switched temporarily to UMB using this command. If you use it, then you see press stop after the UMB sensors are powered on for longer than 5 seconds. So what you need to do is now, because the switching will be done in combination with a reset. Now you have to reset the station. After the reset, you have to wait 5 seconds, and then automatically the sensor will be switched back to UMB binary temporary. I think that's easy, right? And so that's how you can do that. There are also some other methods, but with the UMB config tool, it's this method how to go back to UMB binary for the sensors. So now we click on stop, and that's it. So the next thing I want to show you is NRS 31 extras. So switching back to the sensor. So first of all, I need to enter or to install the NRS. So I delete the WS now. I install the NRS, which is of course connected. We check it with the verify button. Verify is okay, so it's really there. And now we go to save and exit. And here again, in the option tab, you have a section called NRS 31 minus UMB. And you have 3 things which you can do. You can activate NRS 31 UMB service. If I click on that, you will see what will happen. You will get a message. The following works were carried out according to the manual. That means if you know about the NRS, then you know that every single year or every year you need to change the reflector unit. And of course, you have to clean the sensor. We have 2 channels, 2 internal channels in the NRS for the service level. And of course, if you replace the unit and if you have cleaned the sensor, you need to tell the sensor that this was done so that the sensor level will be set back to 0. And this will be done with this small menu here, with this command. Okay? It's like if you think about the modern cars. The modern cars will tell you when you need to go to maintenance, right? On the board computer, you will see a message that in 30 days you need to enter the maintenance garage, right? So that's the same way we do it. And if you go with the car to the maintenance, then they will switch back the service level to 0. And that's the same what you will do with this command here, okay? Then you can click here on reflector unit what has been replaced, sensor was cleaned, and then you click on OK, and these 2 values will be set back to 0. I will show you that. So if we go now back to edit sensors, and you open the channel list of the NRS, at the end you will find these channels. So we have here the actual service level in %. This will be set back, of course, to 100%, and it will run down to 0. And if it's 0%, then you normally need to do the service. The same for actual remaining time for service in hours. It's the same thing. Also, this will be switched back with this configuration menu before. All right? So that's important. Then we have another important option here for the NRS, the check adaptation option. If you are familiar with the NRS, you know that if you install it the first time on site, you need to do a dry adaptation. That means the sensor needs to know the distance between the lamp and, of course, the surface, and needs to know what is then, of course, dry for the sensor and for as a reference. So that means you need to do an adaptation to dry. And if you do that, you can do that with the UMB config tool. before, the people did not really know if the adaptation was done the right way or not. So there was no information about that. And that's the reason why we have implemented this check adaptation button here. Because with this button you will be able to check if the adaptation was done the right way. So you will be sure that you have done it the right way, and then you can start to measure with the NRS. So I will try to show you how that works. I think it will not work here because my sensor here is of course installed in the office, and it's showing down here on the ground, and you know the minimum distance between the sensor and the surface normally should be 6 meters. Of course I have no pole here in my office, so normally it will show you some nonsense here, but anyway I will show you how it will look like. So use the button, then you see the information. Is the road in the measurement area of the NRS 31 Pro definitely dry? Of course you need to know that. Warning, a moist road may cause a faulty adaptation and wrong measurement values. Then you can choose the right NRS with the right ID, and then you can check the status. Using the button you will get a message, and you see it's unknown, of course, because it's not really clear for the sensor here in my office. That's the reason. Normally you will get an information that the sensor is adapted the right way or not. Alright? If it's not okay, so maybe you will get an information that the adaptation was not done the right way, you can try it again. But the only thing you need to do then is to use the make a new adaptation button. Do a new adaptation and check again the adaptation after that. That's all, right? So, and the third option here, that's the NRS UMB generates status file. That's the last option. If you have tried maybe 10 times to do an adaptation and it will not work, then you will be able to generate a status file for Lufft. You can do that. You can generate this file and you can send that to the hotline. And then we will be able to check what was going wrong. And maybe we can help you what to do against it. All right? And so I will show you how to generate that. You click on the button. Then you will get an information where you want to store, because the file will be stored or generated automatically on your laptop, and that's it. You go on store here on the left side, and then the file will be stored on your laptop and you can send this file to Lufft. Okay? Right. So that's the NRS extras. And the last thing is, I want to show you, is, of course, the values.txt file. That means I always get the request when the customer or the people installing the stations are in front of the stations. How can they, let's say, have information for the end user or for the customer that the station was really working? Because if you start the measurement, of course, the measurement will be shown in the UMB-config tool, but if you close the UMB-config tool, these measurements are gone, right? So we have implemented a values.txt. That means if you start a measurement, then automatically the values will be stored in this text file. And you will find this text file in the installation folder of the UMB-config tool. For example, here on my PC, it's under C, Lufft, and this is the folder where we have the installation files, and you see we have also here the values text file. The syntax of the file is always, we use the timestamp, for example, here 13 of May 2013 with the ending values. And if you open it, you see that's the measurement we have done a few minutes before with the WS sensor, right? And also all the NRS actions, that means also the adaptation tries are stored here. So I always advise the people, because the system works like that, always you start a measurement at the same day, all the measurements will be stored in the same text file. But maybe that will be a little bit chaotic at the end. For example, if you drive to 5 stations and all 5 stations values will be inside one text file, it's a little bit irritating, right? So I always advise the people, for example, if you drive to the first station, you start the measurement, then you will generate this file here, right? And the nice thing here is you can rename this file. So what I always recommend is do the first measurement, check if the measurement values are okay. If everything is okay, go into the folder, open the text file, check if the text file is okay. If it's okay, rename it. You can, for example, use the station name, station test, for example here, not teat, test. So then you store it, it's stored here, and then you can drive to the next station. Do the same thing again, automatically you start a new measurement. Again, the text file with the syntax, timestamp and values will be generated again. Then do the same. You start a measurement, everything will be stored in the timestamp values.txt, rename it with the station name of this station, and so on. And then at the end, for example, if you drive to 5, you can go back to the customer and show the customer all 5 text files with the measurements, and you can show him that everything was okay when you left the site. All right, so I think that's it for today. Do you have any questions? Please, if you have questions, try to question me now. We have the time. Maybe for the future, for some additional webinars, next week we will have a new webinar also on Tuesday about the new handheld series from Lufft. We will, there is a new handheld series called XC200 and 250. So next Tuesday, at the same time, we will have this webinar for these new devices. So I will inform you about the possibilities of the handhelds, about the features of the new handheld series. So it would be nice if you can also be again part of this webinar. So there are no questions until now. I think that's okay, right, for me. Thank you very much for your interest. I hope it was okay for you. Hopefully we will see you again next week. So bye-bye. Thank you.